Good day, this is a little session on Redcap. So if you are using this in your research project, that shows you just how to get your account, how to create the project, how to assign the user rights, how to do the data collection, add survey settings, and distribute the survey. So hopefully after you've viewed this tutorial, you should be able to create your collection tool on Redcap. When you come to your Redcap site, you will see that it's quite a straightforward little site. Need to apply for a new Redcap user account? Click here. So you select over there to apply for your for an account with Redcap. Now, once you have registered and you've received your username and your password, you can log in. Okay, and then right here at the top, you go to new project. You'll see down at the bottom would be like a list of all your current projects if you've already started. Otherwise, you come to new project. Automatically this will open up. So what is the project title? So I'm going to, for the sake of teaching, I'm going to create one for a teaching review. So that's the name of this project. Okay, project ownership. You start typing in your own name and it should come up. Okay. Project purpose, you're likely going to be doing this for research. If I wanted to send this to get evaluations on my teaching, it will be quality improvement, but I want to use this for research. Okay, name of principal investigator, so who is the person creating this? Please specify, and then like what type of study, and then if it's a different one, so you get basic or bench research, which is what most of us will be doing. Project notes, you can, this is optional if you want to fill this in. And then I recommend you're obviously going to be using an empty project because you're not going to be using any of the current templates. Okay, then you select create project. Once you have created a project, you come up to this page and then you need to come to this first, project settings. Make sure that you are indeed happy with everything you have added there. Okay. And then you say, I'm done. Now, before you design your data collection instruments, I recommend you just come down to this little section where it says user rights. You just want to make sure that you do have all the rights you do want. Edit user privileges. Okay. No expiration date. Make sure that you are able to do everything you do want to do, like create records, unlock records. Make sure that these are ticked, and most important, full data set is ticked. Viewing and editing is ticked. Okay, because sometimes, because you're a student, this will automatically be on no access, which means you can't download your data. So make sure that everything is done, and then you save your changes. And then next, you want to create roles. So a role was, So first you can be partners or a lecturer, create roles. And then what kind of rights do you want to assign to that role? So you want them to be able to check the stats. You also want them to be able to access the user rights. And you want them to be able to do project design and setup. And maybe you don't want them to be able to get access to the full data set. Okay, so now you've created your role. Okay, so now I want to create a new user. So for instance, I want to add Ms. Khan to mine. So add with custom rights or assign new role. Select role, partner, assign. Let me just put over here. Razia. Okay, so this is if you wanted to customize it then. Over here now, remember I created a role. I want to assign a role, calling her my partner, assign. And now she's been added. Okay, so make sure that you add anyone that's part of your project onto this, including your supervisors. Make sure your supervisors have access to the settings. Just remind you where it says project design and setup, that's most important, and full data set and edit data, right? So those are your most important settings that everyone needs access to. You can now return to your project setup, which is this tab here, or you can just go to that little button over there. You can scroll down. Remember, we've now just updated the user rights and permissions, so I'm done. Okay, that's just another link to get to the user rights. But let's now go to our data collection tool, Online Designer. Okay, select Form 1, and this is where you will be creating your form. You don't really do anything here. But essentially what you're going to do now is you're going to create your fields. So the different types of questions you want to add or any of those. And rule of thumb, always you're just going to press add field. And over here is where you select what you want to do. So if it's a text box, then you're just going to say what you wanted to say to the person. Please state your age. Okay. In questionnaire design, you don't ask for their birth date because that is an identifier. So you have to ask them for their age and preferably that you turn in the current year. Just to, you kind of just like add bracket like that to stipulate, okay, I'm at, the current year, this is 2023, for instance, and this year the person turns what age. Otherwise, they're going to be in a situation where they're like, ooh, okay, maybe I'm 22 years and 3 months, or am I 22 this year or 23 because I haven't had my birthday yet. So now it's just clear, in this year, you turn this age, you mention that. Okay, your variable name. So when you actually work on this data, what is going to be the name of this variable? You need it to be validated. So do you need it to be in a specific set? I just want this to be in a number. Okay, you don't have to put that in. Identifier, no, it's not, because now remember we didn't ask for their date of birth. And we can just save that. And there we go. Next one we want to add. Let's look, calculated field. Calculated field you can add to, for instance, you're doing BMI. You've got to have had 2 previous fields, obviously the height and the weight, and then you add the calculated field. You can look at the red note instructions for that, but I'm not going to focus on it here. But like simple yes or no answers, or true or false. So I'm going to go with yes and no. Do you consent to this study? Okay, so the options are already yes or no. Okay. And my variable's name is going to be consent. I need them to complete this question. So they shouldn't be able to continue unless they do that. So where it says required, yes. Okay. Your next field you may want to add is, so we've got types of multiple answers. So you got the multiple choice where you can either have it done as radio buttons or a drop down. These two are practically the same, just the way that they are displayed are different. So single answers, which subject is your favorite, so for instance. Okay, and then you're going to add your choices over here. Let's go, so there's chemistry, special project, chemical pharmacy, pharmacy practice, and pharmaceutics. Okay, now this has come up because everything needs to be numbered. So usually what you can do is you can say 1, comma, what's the option, 2, comma, what's the option. I just put in all my options and then I let Redcap add it for me automatically. Okay. Variable name is such. Yes, I need to know this. How do I want it aligned? So do I want everything next to each other? Do I want all the options underneath each other? So you can change those over there. Okay. So over here, I've done a drop-down list. If I had to change this, where I go to the edit and I do the radio buttons, it will be displayed as such. Okay. Next, we come to the multiple choice buttons. There we go. And what's the field label? So in terms of a question, Which lecturers do you often see? Okay, so then we can say it's my orchard. Okay, so and over here, I think you no, Redcap, and over here, lecturers. Save. And you'll see that now it's an option where a person can select multiple options, whereas over here, a person can only select one option. Okay, any other fields that you may be interested in is, there's often a text box, that's straightforward, note box. So if you're asking someone for a lot of information, you'd go with a notes box for the paragraph. We've mentioned the calculated field, the multiple choice, the check boxes, yes, signature. Signature is also a very useful one to add, and often I put this as a required one because I tend to put this one before, for the consent section to make sure that it's been signed before anyone is actually able to continue onto the next page. So please sign, save, oopsie, signature. Okay, so I should have even had that one sooner. So let's just turn that up, and this one needs to come down before I ask their age. Okay, so those are our fields so far. And then the last one's descriptive text. I don't usually use that. And then you can start a new section with optional text. Okay, so the new section, you can have it with now a Likert scale or a different group of questions. So if you're doing a PKA survey, so perceptions, knowledge, and attitudes, maybe the first page was just your consent. Now our news section might be our perceptions. It won't let me do it now just because it's the last option. So let me just add it over here. Perceptions. Okay. And we got this. So we've got all the keep your demographic information there, or you could even have a little section header that says over here demographic information, perceptions, add questions later, come back to the section and add in your next little header that you need. So now, for instance, you're doing a Likert scale, then you want to go to add a matrix of fields. So matrix header, choose the most relevant answer. Okay. Field label. So what is going to be the different options? And what is going to be the different choices? And how would you like these answers done? You want them to be able to do multiple answers or single? So you just need to choose that. So my first field label, for instance, could be availability of lecturers. Okay. Underscore. And then I can have another friendliness of lecturers. So for each one, I need to add a variable name. And then what are the different choices? Is the person never, sometimes, often, frequently, always. Okay. Again, thank you, Redcap. Okay. Oh, sorry, provide a group name. Okay, so that over there is just, like over here, you can see it's called my Likert 1. Okay, whatever you name it. So it's kind of like how you've got the variable names, but the full matrix also gets a group name. Let me say save. There we go. So availability of lecturers, sometimes. Friendliness of lecturers, always. Okay, so that's how you create that Likert scale for questions. And next thing you may want to look at is adding a stop order or even a branching. So let's first look at branching options. Okay, so if I have to look at this subject here, at this question, only once someone has answered a question over here, they get access to this next question. This is quite nice because if you don't want to have all these questions available that isn't relevant to your participant. So that's why a person uses branch logic. Okay, so this is where the variable names are also quite important. So if I decide I want to add some branching logic, you can learn how to do the typing over here, like the coding for it, or you can just go to the drag and drop. Okay. Now remember my previous ones, I'm looking at this one, but it's dependent on the variable named subject. Okay. I come down, I've come to the drag and drop, I've come to subject. Okay, so which one is it dependent on? Remember it was a multiple options, so you just kind of choose, okay, which one is it? So if they have chosen clinical pharmacy, I drag that one across, save. Which means that only if they select clinical pharmacy will this option come up. Okay. And you can do that for like multiple things. You could even like change it, and you could like, well, if it's even dependent on not just clinical pharmacy, maybe I also want them. Also, if it's dependent on choosing pharmacy practice, then that next question will come on depending on that answer. If it is something that I have added, you consent to the study. Okay, so only once they have consented and selected yes do they get access to that. In which case, sorry, before I do that, remember what the variable name is, consent. So we come to the one called age, drag and drop. So have they said yes or no? So only when they select yes do we actually select does the next question become available. Yeah, so that is, you add most of your field matrices. Sorry, not just your field matrices, but also your normal fields for creating your survey or your data collection tool. These would be like the normal settings if you wanted, if you were doing like face-to-face work, or even if you were doing like just like a normal data collection tool. If you wanted to use this as a survey, you know, for instance, the PKAs, you need to ensure that you've actually enabled the survey settings. So go to project setup, and you'll see here where it says main project settings, use surveys in this project, enable. Okay. So what that does is when you go back to your online designer, you've got to then enable our survey, you've got to enable this. Okay. And this just allows for extra information that needs to be added, because remember with your surveys, you're going to be distributing them. So what are you expecting this to display when the user gets it? So you're going to get, for instance, your survey title, teaching review. Okay, survey instructions. Don't just stick to this where it says, please complete the survey below. No, this is usually, you know, in your ethics forms, you'll have your participant information sheet. This is what you want to add here. So, good day, potential participant. So you'll likely just be copy pasting everything in. I am in a orchard and am taking a project. So it's where you explain a project. Ethics has been approved. You give those details. Will there be any risks? So you add all of that information. Okay. That's the information, your participant information sheet that you need to add, you know, that so that your participant can read about the study. I usually just leave this as it is. Logo, you can choose to add a logo. I often like to add the WITS University logo, and then that appears at the top of the one. Okay, let's just go with this one. Yeah. Okay, so I've added the logo. What kind of font do I want? Survey theme, just kind of leave that. Don't do that. Question numbering, leave it. Open page or multiple pages. Section headers will begin new sections on the instrument. So what it's saying here is, remember in the beginning we had those different pages where we would have it. So everything can display on like one page, or when you add those different section pages, it means it starts on a new page. Okay. Do you want a previous page button? So do you want people to be able to go back? And then do you want pages to be displayed? Okay. I like to do this so that perceptions, for instance, is on one page, knowledge is on one page, attitudes is on another page. You want them to be able to get a PDF. This is quite nice. If you, for instance, doing a screening program and you want the participants to have a copy, they can have that. That's just like self-read, survey specific, not necessary. So these are usually just like leave. These are also just like leave. But you can go through them, and if it is relevant to your study, and you need to change your settings, you can do so. Is there a limit on the responses? Then you can add that here. Time limit, does it expire? So you can just update those details if it's relevant to your project. And then survey completion text. Okay, so thank you for taking the survey. Have a nice day. Options related to survey stop actions. Do you want it to be able to have a stop action? I mentioned this earlier, and I'll show you. So with the stop action, say now, for instance, they select one of the options, which falls within your exclusion criteria. You put in that stop action, and then that stops their participation in the survey. Okay, you can add your e-consent framework, which is quite a useful thing. I just did a little manual one, so I'm not adding it here. And then you can send a confirmation email, which I'll tend to do. So you'll add your email address, the subject. Thank you for participating. XYZ. So whatever you want to put in there, you put in there. Is there an attachment you want to add? Do you want to even include that PDF of the complete survey? Okay. And then you save those changes. So all survey ones would need to get those settings. But now that it is activated or enabled as a survey, if I do come in here, you'll see now we've got this little stop symbol. So do you consent to the study? And this is where I want to put in my stop order. Because please note that there are stop actions, okay? Should the person select no, then it's going to stop, okay? So that ends the survey. If you were not specifically interested in the like one subject of your chemistry, okay, if they select this one, it's my exclusion criteria, I'm going to say. If they select chemistry. Okay, just before I show you how to distribute the survey, I just want to come back to this branching logic over here. So with this one, because we had multiple options, just take note of the top here where it says either all below are true or any below are true. Okay, so if you need someone to have selected multiple options, you say all below are true, so they've got to have accepted clinical pharmacy and pharmacy practice, or any, so if either one of them is true, then I select that. Now it's done. Let's go back to our project setup. Okay, so we've designed our tool, we're done, so I'm done. Are there any customizations you need to do? If not, say I'm done or do them, move on. I usually don't do anything here. I'm done. So if you do need to, if your project requires it, then you your bookmarks. Otherwise you say complete. Now next is going to be your test, your project thoroughly. I always recommend just emailing it to yourself first so you can check everything's fine. Before you pilot it, send it to your participants that'll be piloting it. After you've piloted, send out your validation. then you send it to participants. Okay, so once that's done, you say, I'm done, and then we come to move your project to production status. And once it's in production status, you can't move back. Okay, so make sure you've thoroughly piloted your project. Everything is fine and working. You're happy with everything before you actually make a change. And in order to distribute this, you go to Survey Distribution Tools. And you'll see there's a whole lot of options here. Now, if you have a list of participants, you go to Participant List. Okay, you do not enable this if it's meant to be an anonymous survey. Okay, this is only for if you need to keep track of who's actually answered something. Okay, but if you've declared that it's anonymous, you cannot enable the identifier. Okay, so you can just add participants. I recommend putting all your participants in a Word document and then you copy paste it, because otherwise, if you keep adding to it, it doesn't like give the old list and then like you get to add the new list. You've got to have like your list ready, put it in, and then you say add participants. Okay. And then composing your survey invitation, so what you want it to say in the survey. Okay, in this, in these settings as well, you should be able to say when it goes, and then how often do you want the survey to be sent out. If you're going with just wanting to send yourself a link or copy a link, you can just use the link here. Send me a URL by email. So I always press that one and then I receive the email. And then if you're planning to put this on walls, in order for participants to use their phone to scan the QR code or just do it on their phones, then you're going to print for respondents. So there's a whole lot of different options. And you'll see over here, so I've sent myself the link to the survey and I'm going to click on it. Okay, there's the logo I added. There's my information sheet and my consent form, please sign. So if I try and say next page, that's not going to work. Why? Because remember, I made these compulsory values. The person has to add a signature and they've got to select yes. If they say no, that's when that stop order kicks in. Okay, so the person can either end the survey, they'll be notified that they'll be kicked out, or they can change their response. Okay, so that logo follows onto each page. Remember, we had the setting that we had multiple pages. So each time there's a new set of questions, it's going to change. Now, remember, if you select chemistry, we had the stop order because that was part of my exclusion criteria. Okay, so we're changing our mind. I'm choosing clinical pharmacy. And remember, here we had the branching logic. And I can choose now whoever I see. Okay, I didn't have this, so if the person then, if they just, for instance, said pharmaceutics, if they had pharmacy practice, remember that was also approved for the branching logic, and the participant has access to that question. And next, finally, we have our Likert scale, and that's it. The person can submit, have a nice day, close the survey, they can send themselves a confirmation email. Let's go back to here, and now I want to see my responses. In order to do that, you'll come to the side here, data exports, reports, and stats. So you can view the reports, or you can even look at the stats that Redcap has created for you.